Hey guys, welcome back to yet again another episode of the Cinema Wise podcast. Today we are going to be doing one of our segments called Spoiled Rotten. But before we get into that, why don't we get into the introductions, just in case there are some first-time viewers. My name is Ryan Wolf. I am one half of the Wise Guys. On the other screen, via Skype with me, is the other half, Matt Gunthorpe. How we doing, buddy?
What's up, man? Doing great. Always good to be here talking to you.
Spoiled Rotten. It's exactly what it sounds like. We're going to be talking about the movie from top to bottom. Full spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie, do not watch this video, because we are going to talk about everything. Today, we will be talking about a movie that we both really wanted to see. Tried to get tickets to the limited showings that were available, and that is the Jay Silent Bob Reboot. Matt, you want to go ahead and start us off with some experiences of when we heard the movie was coming out versus what we're going with now?
Man, I was super excited when I saw that was coming out. That whole series has been a favorite of mine. The first Jay and Silent Bob, possibly, I think I said was my favorite at some point when we did our list of Kevin Smith movies.
Yeah.
I thought Jay and Silent Bob was probably my favorite of those. I've seen them, I think all of them. Clerks 2, Dogma,
I haven't seen Dogma. I want to go back and watch Dogma, but Clerks 2, Mallrats, Chasing Amy.
Yeah, all of it.
Jay and Silent Bob. They're working on a Clerks 3. The first opening scene where he comes out of the chicken shop, that's probably the funniest part of the movie for me, personally. And it was great way to open up the movie because it got you excited for everything else, but jokes wise, it kind of starts to fall from that point forward. But I still really enjoyed the movie. Not as much as I had hoped, but I can see why they were going with where they went and what they were trying to do. And since this was a Kevin Smith funded project, I mean, I believe they did a Patreon for this film, so it's bare bones minimum.
Or like a GoFundMe or something.
Yeah, it was something like that.
Well, I briefly talked to you about it already, but it was kind of what I expected, in that I knew that it was going to be just back to back to back, like references and like jokes from previous movies that were rehashed. And I mean, they even made fun of that whole thing of like, what's a reboot, blah, blah, blah. And, so it was, and they literally were like, okay, so they're acknowledging and having fun with it. It just, to me, got a little bit like, not that it was too much, but it got in the way of doing any kind of like continuous story or anything. To me, it was just a mashup of like funny reference to a previous thing, funny reference to another previous thing, like the when Matt Damon came in and did his thing from referencing like Dogma. It was like it came out of nowhere, it went away, it was not talked about again. They're just throwing it in there so that Matt Damon could be in there for a minute. And that was it. There was like no point to it. Didn't contribute to the story. Didn't really all it did was be like, hey, I was in one of his movies before. Let me be in his another movie.
Yeah. I also had even with it being the reboot, and knowing that we were going on they're going to Hollywood to stop the movie, but the road trip was super lacking. I mean, they didn't really get into any hijinks on the road that I wanted. Like the first one, they got into the jewel heist and things like that, and he had the whole I am the clique commander thing, and there wasn't really any of that. I mean, they run into his the girl Shannon Elizabeth from the first one, and he meets his daughter, and then it basically becomes a movie that was just used to get his daughter in a starring role, and they make a joke about that towards the end,
Right.
which is fine, but at the same time, I wanted we've spent so many years with these characters. I wanted something a little bit more. I wanted more of the hijinks. I wanted more of the Jay and Silent Bob
Yeah.
from old. And this one, just like you said, it was, hey, remember this movie? Hey, remember this movie? I was in that movie. Oh, okay, you're done with this one? Well, remember when we did this in this movie?
Yeah.
And it wasn't even them really like showing like, hey, we did this in a previous movie, let's do it again. It was more of them going, hey, remember that time that you were sitting at home and you
Right.
watched us do this? That was funny, wasn't it? So
Right.
that got a little old quickly, but
Agreed.
at the
Well,
same at the same time, there was a lot of heart in this film that wasn't in the previous films. I think that this one had a lot more, I guess, emotional weight to it than any of the previous films, and I can appreciate that going that route. But it's not what I would have wanted for when I go to watch a Jay and Silent Bob movie. I'm going there to laugh at dick and fart jokes
Right.
and watch them smoke weed and just have fun for 2 hours and see how ridiculously they can get away with things. You know, I'm not going into a Jay and Silent Bob movie going, I hope this has emotional weight to it. It's not what I'm looking for from this franchise.
No, it's not at all what I was looking for either. I just thought it was, the first one had like references to previous movies, but it was a lot more subtle when it wasn't as like bam, 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 bam. Like Jay and Silent Bob actually had like a continuous story. Like there was characters that were introduced that were revisited that were just not, or were at least talked about, that weren't just like, boom, this character's here. They were in a movie before, and now they're gone like forever.
Yeah.
You know, and and literally the like Method Man, Red Man was like, hey, we can get these guys on here for free / cheap. Cool, let's throw them in here. We'll find a spot. We'll just we'll throw them in the back of the van and have them smoking weed, and that's what we're gonna do. Like it just seemed very like, all right, let's get this person, let's throw them in there so that they're on the screen and not really progressing the story or telling a story even.
Yeah. I do think the story was very lacking in this, but it was fun to see all of the cameos, just like it is with any Jay and Silent Bob movie. That when you go into that, you're looking for things like that. But this one was just, let's beat you over the head with it and show it to you. And it's still a movie. You cannot take the cameo stuff and things like that and put that above the story, because if you do that, you have a sucky product. No matter how good the cameos are, if the product sucks, it sucks. So it was a little bit of a letdown. I mean, there are funny moments, there are heartfelt moments that are really, really good, and if the story would have helped guide it through to that point, it probably would have had that much more weight and probably elevated the movie.
Yeah. On that note, I am going to watch it again because, like, not to say that I was just in there looking and trying to identify like every reference or anything like that, but I definitely was. I would say halfway through, I was just not that into the movie. Like, it was kind of just there at that point. I was like, oh yeah, I know that reference. Oh yeah, I know that reference.
I would have really liked for them to take more time with just Jay and Bob before they got to the daughter stuff,
Yeah,
because once she was on the road with them, it became her movie. They were the backup characters. Well, you can't call it Jay and Silent Bob and then make them backup characters.
yeah, I agree.
The focus should have still been on them, been on their relationship. It's not that. Well, I am going to point it out now. It's the same thing that the second Dumb and Dumber, when it, instead of the relationship between those two, it focused on the relationship between, or the relationship that Jim Carrey's character wanted with the daughter of the other guy.
I never saw it.
Oh, it's terrible. It's basically this, but 10 times worse.
Right.
Like this, there are positive things to say. That second Dumb and Dumber is just garbage.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I I didn't hate it. I just didn't think it was that funny. Watching the previews, I think I could have literally skipped the movie because I think I saw every cameo. There wasn't any surprise cameos. There wasn't anybody that was like, "Oh my God, they're back!"
Yeah.
It was all like,
And
"Oh yeah, I figured they'd be there. Oh yeah, I figured they'd be there."
I mean, it was one that we were looking forward to, so I think it's another situation of we had an idea of what we wanted and it didn't live up to that. I wish they would have taken a little bit more time and really thought out the story. And then the bit with now Jay talks through the phone, I didn't really enjoy that because he's tapping on the phone, and everybody knows that's not how you get that. And then you get the little emoji.
Oh, Bob, you mean?
Yeah. Bob. Did I say Jay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I meant Bob. But
Yeah, that got old too. They could have done that once.
And just been done with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, I really do. I usually enjoy it. Like I said, I liked Mallrats. Both Clerks were good.
Yeah.
The first Jay and Silent Bob is probably my favorite out of his series. I mean, I've even taken. I've drove up to the Secret Stash in Jersey just go see the shop and stuff like that, which is pretty cool.
I didn't know that was a real thing.
Yeah. It's up in New Jersey. He's got his own comic book shop, but it's called the Secret Stash, and it's the place where I don't know if you ever watched Comic Book Men.
No.
Okay, well those guys are the guys that run the shop for him, and if you go on the right day, it's where he shoots his podcasts and things like that. So,
Right.
Yeah. So, I think I just wanted more from this film besides cameo after cameo after cameo after cameo. Anything else you want to kind of top off on this one? I mean, now that we've gotten into it, there really wasn't much to talk about on this one.
No,
besides the cameos, I thought we would have more of a back and forth about it, but
no, I think we pretty much agreed on everything. Though, I mean, it was again. I feel like my ultimate thing to say about this movie is if you've seen the previous Kevin Smith movies, it definitely is 100% worth a watch. Definitely has some funny moments. Definitely has some cameos. But maybe don't go into it looking for a Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back or anything, because it's definitely not.
Yeah, like we said, there's not much story to it.
There's no story to it. It's literally just jokes and references
and cameos of people. And when they're on the stage, he was like, "Hey, this movie should win an Oscar for the best cast for all the guilted cameos that I got out of people for it." So, yeah, that's all I have for it. We'll do a couple more of these. Hopefully, we've got some movies coming up that you guys will enjoy. I know coming up for me, probably within the next couple days, I will be watching Bloodshot, and then we can do a review for that, and things like that. If there's something you guys would like to see us do, especially while we're here in this quarantine, that we can get access to, hit us up on the Facebook. Leave us a comment there, and we'll try and get to it if we can. The more that you guys engage with us, the better content we can give you as to what you want to see. So we're open to constructive criticism and things like that. Other than that, I think we're getting ready to get out of here. Follow us on all the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can find links to all that at our website, www.cinemawise.com. Anything you want to push or talk about before we get out of here, Matt?
No, wash your hands, stay healthy, stay inside, stay at home.
Take this time, enjoy some of the great TV and movies that are out. I mean, a lot of studios have pushed things out. That we talked about that in our first episode, and we're going to talk about things that were pushed as coming up in another episode for you guys. And there was a bunch that were added today, so we might talk about those when that comes out.
Yeah,
Don't know, but we're going to be shooting that episode for you pretty soon, guys, okay? Be safe. Enjoy the rest of the day, guys.